Welcome to the program, y'all. Let's get a grip on what's going on in the world with LIV Golf. There was a huge event for LIV Golf in the United Kingdom this past weekend. And what does that mean? That means it's time to duck and cover because the rumor mill and the news, they're flying in every direction. Like you can't get away from it. If you watched any of the PGA media or the PGA potosphere this week, none of them covered the golf that happened at LIV Golf. For whatever reason, they don't believe in it. They don't think it means anything. They weren't impressed by Lucas Herbert going wire to wire coming off his great play at the Open Championship. No, instead of talking about the golf, they just keep talking about the negative stories to keep pushing LIV to the outside of the golf world. Now, I don't believe there's a big PR firm behind the scenes, the man behind the curtain pulling the strings. I just think they see one person talk about it. They jump onto that talking point and it goes around in circles. And then you have confirmation bias with the audience and it just becomes LIV hate fest. They think it gives them better ratings, better views, better impressions, whatever it is. Instead of taking a second to actually see what happened, watch LIV. Attend LIV, because I can assure you in the UK this weekend, there were investors, probably future partners of LIV Golf in the suite with Scott Oneil high-fiving him saying, we have something here. We definitely have something here. I couldn't believe it until I saw it with my own eyes. So let's just wrap up the UK real quick. I think one of the main storylines coming out of LIV United Kingdom was the Majestics. Let's face it, that team sucks, but they carry two legends of the game from England, right? Ian Poulter and Lee Westwood, and Ian Poulter played lights out. Laurie Cantor played lights out, and it would be enough for the Majestics to come in fifth in the team standings, and that's pretty good. And top 15 for Ian Poulter and Laurie Cantor, that's out of the ordinary. It's great for them. It gave the home team crowd something to cheer for, and instead of being a bust like the Korean Golf Club was in Korea, it probably made it fun for everybody involved. On the course, as I mentioned, Herbie Ripper GC, he went wire to wire for the second time in LIV. He did it in Virginia, and of course last week he set a record at the Open for going low, shooting a 62, and two other guys would do it as well. So some people played Birkdale pretty hot. Others got their ass kicked, like John Rahm, who's not playing that well. He had I think he was tied for 23rd at LIV. His worst finish. His game is in shambles, but he is one of the best players in the world. I'm a Rahm fan. I'm not worried about it. I love to see him compete, and I'm certain he will be back on top. Tyrrell Hatton played great again. And Bryson DeChambeau, he played awesome. Tyrrell and Bryson played a level of golf that probably would have won at any other tournament around the world, but Lucas was just lights out. So Ripper GC would win. Legion 13, was crawling behind him a little bit, but it was really a one team and one man race in the UK. I enjoyed watching it. It was hard to watch the energy of the LIV coverage on Fox Sports 1 and then flip over to the 3M, even though it was great that Jackson Coyban won. But the energy of the broadcast and the tournament was so dull. But thank God Coyban won for the PGA, because if it was like Brian Harmon or anybody else in that leaderboard that's kind of a dud, it would have been just another boring event with birds chirping in the background. But because Coyban got to hold off Scotty Scheffler playing lights out, it was kind of cool to see and good for that kid. Now they're all praising him, the next Tiger Woods, Ryder Cup choice and all that. They're prisoners of the moment, but it was just good golf. I watched him on Grant Horvat on YouTube. They did a match together, and I like Jackson. He's a great player. He's going to be an awesome player. And he's good friends with Lasasso, who went to LIV Golf, not having a good year. In fact, I think he finished DFL in the UK. If it wasn't him, it was Dustin Johnson. DJ just can't play in England. All right, so let's go through the news coming out of the LIV world this week. There's so much. The first thing I think we should touch on is Michigan is done. I knew that. I called the Cardinal like 3 or 4 days ago, playing stupid, asked if there were any trucks there, any production or signs of an event. And the answer was no. And if you know big events, it would have to already be in place for something happening less than 3 or 4 weeks away. I did the same thing with Indianapolis, and there's tents everywhere. The scaffolding's up. It's going forward as planned. It will probably be the last LIV event for LIV as we know it. And if it ends today or ends in the next couple of days, it's probably going to be the Four Aces would be the final champion of season one, we'll say 4 or 5 years of LIV Golf, unless like maybe Ripper wins both. No one can catch John Rahm on the individual side. I think Bryson would have to win both tournaments left, and Rahm would have to finish down at the bottom for Bryson to have a chance. So I think Rahm, even though he's not playing well, he's got it wrapped up. So losing the Asian Tour was like one of the greatest stories the golf media could deliver this week. Oh, it's going to kill LIV, another blow for LIV. That's their feeder system. So forget about OWGR points. Yes and no. It's great to have the Asian Tour because the LIV guys could go play on it to get some world ranking points, which are less than LIV events, by the way, when LIV didn't have an event. And it was a great place for them to work on their game. And for the Asian Tour, it was great to have big stars in their field to help sell more tickets and draw attention to it. But the facts are the facts. At the end of the season of the Asian Tour, only one player got to move up to LIV Golf, right? The leader of the Order of Merit. Last year, they did 2 players, I think, for the first time. So it's not this huge feeder tour, but it was something that the OWGR looked at as an opportunity for playing. So what's LIV going to do going forward? We know that the Asian Tour is not banning LIV players from their events, even though they're now partners with the PGA, but they're not partners with the PGA is not partners with the Asian Tour like they're partners with the DP World Tour, where they're big daddy's pocketbook or wallet funding them and trying to keep them afloat from going bankrupt. It's a smaller partnership, but it's a way for the PGA to try to spread their brand around the world. But LIV guys are going to be able to play in the Asian Tour as long as they have some certain level of status. And if they don't, the Asian Tour spokesperson said they'll give them exemptions when necessary to players they deem deserve exemptions. And of course, most of the guys on the LIV roster help the Asian Tour sell tickets to their events. So I wouldn't worry about that part. It just means LIV 2.0 is going to have more Q school events than the one they did last year, right? The way Anthony Kim got in, I think they took the top 3. Maybe the top 2. I'm not 100% sure. Either way, they'll have to do 3 or 4 of those, I think, to satisfy to the OWGR that we are creating pathways for players to get in outside of the Asian Tour. So I think LIV Indianapolis coming up is going to be a huge event. I know that Trump's Place in New Jersey next week is going to be huge. I'm going to be on the ground there. I'll give you some reporting live. I'll do some shots of how I think it is, what the vibe is like there. And maybe it's the end of LIV Golf. When I air this today, we could see a headline that says LIV is over. But I don't think so. Some of the reporting says Scott Oneil is at the finish line with 2 private equity investors. And there's been multiple investors he's turned away. So you don't turn people away if you're desperate. That makes me think at the UK, next to Scott Oneil, like I said, they were high-fiving in the suite. An investor was saying, wow, we have something here. And Scott Oneil turns to him and says, yes, we are betting on the billions of televisions and computers around the world, not just in the United States. And while the US is watching another tournament and not talking about LIV, it's well watched in Australia, in Asia, in South Africa, even in South America, and of course, in all the European countries. So there's plenty of TV ratings to satisfy a global investor or partner. And yes, could they do better here in the US? Certainly. But they still do way better, and I say this almost every episode, than the DP World Tour, the LPGA, or the Senior Tour. Yet the golf media continues to talk seriously about those 3 properties as if they mean something. How could you be like gung-ho about the DP World Tour that only gets 20,000 viewers for most of the events when it's aired in America? It doesn't make sense. They're just anti-LIV. LIV gets several 100,000 and a lot more when you add in YouTube and you add in the app and you add in the global coverage. So it's likely they get several million per event. Now, Scott Oneil is a baller. Most people aren't talking about the things he's done and why he's the right man for the job. When he worked for a company, it was a holding company, HBSE, and they owned the New Jersey Devils and the Philadelphia 76ers. He was there for like 8 to 10 years. He did innovative stuff, but most importantly, he brought in billions of dollars of investments and sponsorship to fund projects like the Prudential Center. He worked with Live Nations and big brands to get the construction of it underwritten. He did the same thing for the New York Knicks and the MSG networks for another decade before that. When he was at HBSE, he launched the first global esports team from the region. I don't follow esports, but 10 years later, it still exists today. And that was something innovative that Scott Oneil went and got sponsors, went and got advertisers, went and got investors for. So he's the guy for the job, even if you're just relying on his Rolodex. But what we do know is rich people, private equity or not, love to invest in sports for a hobby, to fill their spare time, for the passion of being part of something and owning a sports franchise. And of course, golf is the most popular played sport out of all of them. And if you don't believe me, just watch TGL. Look in the suites at TGL. It's all famous people, superstars, wealthy people that just want to spend millions of dollars to have fun. The ratings aren't great, but what's interesting is it's all team golf. And the PGA potosphere and media will have you believe that team golf doesn't work. Maybe at the Ryder Cup. Then why in the same episodes do they talk so highly of the Jupiter Lynx or whatever, the Boston Common Rory's team? They're talking about them in a serious nature, and it's team golf with professional athletes. And it certainly doesn't do the viewership of the PGA Tour. It's more comparable to global LIV, maybe a little more than US LIV, but it goes to show you that people will invest in team golf. Another thing that shows the success of team golf and attracts 4 to 5 million individual viewers every time is YGT, Your Golf Tour by the Bryan brothers and Grant Horvat. Their episodes of their first YGT event, which was team golf. It was a scramble, then best ball, team golf. That's the whole backbone of the YGT tour. And look at the views on YouTube. It's not a fake Nielsen ratings thing. 4 million people, maybe 3 million for a low episode. Okay, so there's a huge market for team golf, and LIV 2.0 is got to do a better job capturing that here in the US, just as good as they do it globally. Now, why does the media say, who would invest in LIV Golf? What kind of idiot? Well, for one, none of those people have been on the ground at a LIV event. For those of us that have, know the energy and the excitement and how awesome it is. And every year, whether it's Adelaide, South Africa, Hong Kong, the UK, Mexico, the numbers go up. The attendance, the attraction, everything, the revenue, the sponsors, it continues to go up. But then there's rumors that guys see the writing on the wall. Flushing It reports that 7 players are ready to leave LIV Golf, and Martin Keimer comes out and says the final's not going to happen. But they took him out of context. He still wants to play on LIV Golf. But some of these other guys that Flushing It talked to, they can't, because they are either in the drop zone or the open zone. So whether LIV Golf changed anything, these players aren't going to have a place to play. And that includes Martin Keimer. That includes Graham McDowell. That includes Laurie Cantor. They're right on the bubble of the drop zone. Brendan Steele, McKibben and Surratt, a little bit better. I have confidence that those 2 guys will play well in the last 2 events. But you got Lahir, or they're in the secure zone. But if they don't play well, they're going to go to the open zone. And the LIV open zone is where if a team doesn't pick you up, you're shit out of luck. You got nowhere to play. So at the bottom of the open zone is Jason Kokrak, Adrian Moran, Cameron Changali, Richard Bland, Paul Casey, Graham McDowell, even Ian Poulter. These guys are in danger of slipping into the drop zone, which is 47th and above, if they don't perform in the last 2 events. So, of course, Graham McDowell needs a place to play. I saw an interview with Henrik Stenson where he's so happy he's back playing in senior majors because he got relegated from LIV. Eugenio Chikara, perfect example. The media loves to lift him up And because he talked negatively about LIV, he was the first guy to get sponsors exemptions into DP World Tour events. He took advantage of them, and he's worked his way probably back to the PGA Tour. But he didn't quit LIV Golf. He was relegated because he didn't play well enough. So the guys at the bottom are going to start talking in the media because they want to do the Eugenia Chikara, talk negatively about LIV, then get some exemptions into DP World Tour events or maybe even senior tour events on the PGA. But anybody at any time could leave LIV Golf. Jon Rahm doesn't want to play. He could have left a month ago. Oh, he's done a contract. Sure. But everything has changed. And more importantly, he could fake an injury and not play. But he also could just say, go ahead and sue me, because there's not an entity that's going to sue Jon Rahm to take that money back because they're transitioning to ownership and the PIF is out. So if he didn't want to play, LIV in the future, he could just say he hurt his back. Then he would satisfy the time requirement of teeing it up, right? Just because he's on LIV, if he's injured, he's not teeing it up. Therefore, he could have started his clock on the Patrick Reed style return to the PGA. He didn't. So I think the fact that nobody has left, no employees, no nothing, that these guys listen to Scott Oneil, they know what he's done. I talked a little bit about his experience and they believe him. In fact, the guy that does this pod, it comes on like once a month, UK Golf Lovers United. I love his show. He's honest. It's very simple, a simple production. And he said he talked to over 20 players, good ones. And they're all happy and they're all excited to see what happens in the future. So the next negative stuff is, well, if LIV's not the same and they're playing for $10 million and only 10 events, then they're not going to want to play there. They're going to want to play on the PGA Tour. The PGA Tour is the biggest tour in the world. But after that, it's not the DP World Tour. It's not the LPGA in scope and size. It's not the Senior Tour, the Korn Ferry, or Hotel Planner. It's LIV. So even LIV going from $20 million to $10 million purses is an attractive route for guys that don't want to play on the track 2 of the PGA Tour. PGA Tour now has the Championship Series and the Challenger Series. The Challenger Series are small market events only playing for like $4 million. So would you rather play a small market event or around the world in big, awesome, large, exciting events for $10 million? And if you get lucky enough to get on a team, an opportunity to win the team money if you're not playing well enough to win individually. Plus the sponsors that's starting to attract, right? You got Salesforce, HSBC, Callaway. It's just big sponsors roll into LIV. They went up to $500 million in sponsorship revenue this year. That is huge, and it's only going to grow. The hardest part for LIV is the negative stories, right? An investor has to be like, oh, that brand is tainted. But I don't think so. People love it because if the news is covering it, the sports news is covering it, and it's all in everybody's algorithm, that means there's a curiosity and an interest, and a smart investor will roll the dice on that, as long as there's not exorbitant costs of billions and billions of dollars, which there's not going to be. So for the media to say, oh, who's going to want to spend billions a year? There's no billions a year to spend at all. So yes, I'm sad the team championship isn't going to happen, but I have an idea for it. What if Bryson, the Crushers, the Southern Guard, Ripper GC, Legion 13, and the 4 Aces flew to Texas and had Bryson's team film it just on YouTube without the stands and big production, and then edit it to drop a week later on YouTube for their own team finale? That would get 10 million views. It would kill any other golf that's coming up against it at the time they release it. And that's the kind of stuff LIV has to do going forward. If you want to capture YouTube golf because it's the future of golf media, and it's the future of growing the game, and it's where all the young viewers are, then you have to act like it. And acting like it is filming like it, right? Walking with the players, not just a walking talk, getting what are they going to do with this shot, switch to another one, simple camera work, but enough to show the track man and the ball landing. That's why Grant Horvath and the Bryant brothers and all the other guys successful at YouTube Golf, they give you access. So their personalities that we as YouTube golf fans have grown to love. So if Liv can dive into that in their 2.0, hopefully starting next year, I think it'll be a huge success. But another thing I want to talk about today is the President's Cup is coming up. Because it's a PGA event, America will come in, they'll destroy the global team. It's the globe minus Europe, because they don't allow LIV players to play. The Ryder Cup does. The DP World Tour allows them in. They've even made special rules to have John Rahm in there. But the PGA won't let the LIV guys play. Imagine if you were the President's Cup captain and couldn't have Lucas Herbert, one of the hottest golfers in the world, playing on your team. Even Cam Smith or Waco Neiman. Like the globe doesn't stand a chance against the United States when some of the best players in the world don't live in the United States. I'm not saying they're better than Scotty or Rory in Europe, but these are top players. Some of them on a hot streak. They're the guys you want. So the golf world going forward is going to see LIV Golf, I believe, in 2027 doing 10 events, $10 million purses, many more sponsors underwriting the events. It's still going to have the music. It's still going to have the colors and the production, but I hope that it gets a little more organic so they can be more successful on YouTube. So instead of 300,000 people watching on Fox Sports 1, they could get 4 million viewers on YouTube consistently and allow brands and sponsorships and investors to jump in between the viewer and the golf to capitalize the dollars that they want. That's what it's all for anyways. Who's going to make the money? And I leave you on this. The media gave Bryson a hard time for not talking to them. But do you see the stories the media drops on Bryson? All they do is talk negatively about him, whether he's on top or not playing his best. Bryson came out this week at a LIV event, and what did he do? He went into the media tent and took questions. Yet the PGA, Potosphere, and golf media keep reporting that he keeps avoiding the media. I don't know why he needs to do it. All they had to do was drive from Royal Birkdale to where LIV Golf UK was. I don't remember the town. I know it's in the Shire somewhere. And ask Bryson the questions they want answers to, because he does golf on his terms. He doesn't have to go see you after an intense, passionate round at Birkdale. But when he's in the environment with his fans and his teammates and the vibe of LIV Golf, he's willing to talk openly and free about all things. Or when he's on YouTube. So the golf media needs to go where Bryson is, or stop complaining he doesn't talk to you. All right. Well, I will be in New Jersey. I'm going down on Saturday. Next Saturday, I hope to see some of you there. And as always, you want to reach out to me, it's golfpomperog@gmail.com. And I'll catch you next time on The Fat Grip.